Police are shooting at a gay nightclub in Colorado Springs now as a possible hate crime. NBC News correspondent Steve Batterson has details.
A sanctuary of peaceful celebration and expression torn apart by every pull of the trigger.
This is just a hard day for everyone, for sure.
That safe haven shattered when a gunman stormed the long-standing LGBTQ club in Colorado Springs.
There's always going to be people that just hate that I exist for no real reason.
While police have yet to confirm a motive, the assault is likely part of a disturbing trend. Last year, anti-gay crimes surged by more than 50%, up slightly in the first half of this year. The latest attack stirring up memories of the 2016 Pulse nightclub mass shooting. 49 people gunned down in Orlando, the second deadliest shooting in American history. Now, another historically painful day.
We are again. We have been screaming from the tops of mountains, the LGBTQ leadership, that an environment like this is being created of violence against our community. And so to see it play out this morning or late last night was horrible yet again.
Hate crimes increasing for the fourth year in a row, driven in larger U.S. cities by incidents targeting Asian, Jewish, and LGBTQ communities.
We've seen it around all of these marginalized communities whose voices take up a smaller piece of the pie in this country, but need more protection because we're victims and we're being targeted by these extremist communities.
In New York, police thwarted a potential attack against the Jewish community, arresting 2 armed men in Penn Station, one wearing a swastika. The NYPD now ramping up police presence in communities that are potential targets. Colorado, a community wounded but not broken.
This is a dangerous world we live in. It is full of violence, as we've seen last night, but you can't let hate shut you down from living a life of love and loving who you are.
In Steve's report, we heard from the president and CEO of GLAAD, Sarah Kate Ellis, and she joins us now. Sarah Kate, thanks so much for your time this morning. On a dark day, we've been reporting, we just spoke to the district attorney there in Colorado Springs, who did confirm that they are looking into the possibility of this being a hate crime. They're not calling it that at this time as they develop the evidence, talk to witnesses and everything else. But your reaction, as you said, this is getting exhausting, these tragedies, to watch this happen. Your reaction to what we saw around midnight in Colorado Springs over the weekend.
Yeah, unfortunately, when I woke up to that news, I felt heartbroken, like so many Americans. And I also felt not surprised, because we've seen in this past year about 300 anti-LGBTQ bills proposed. That creates an environment and culture of hate and discrimination. We've seen in our own poll at GLAAD, 7 out of 10 LGBTQ folks report feeling discrimination in the past year. That's up 11% year over year, 24% from 2020. We're seeing these large numbers happen because we're living in an environment that's driven by 2 things: politicians who are using us to bolster their careers by creating division and hate. And number 2 is social media platforms that are monetizing hate, and especially against marginalized communities. They're choosing profits over hate, and it's killing, literally killing our community.
So, Sarah Kate, let's dig in a little deeper on that, about some of the rhetoric we hear from politicians, particularly on transgender issues and transgender people. They drag brunches have been targets before for violent rhetoric, and now we know this Club Q was hosting a drag diva show that night, the night before the Trans Day of Remembrance. How concerned are you right now that this hateful rhetoric has been injected into the political bloodstream, and we're going to have more incidents like this?
I'm very concerned. We've been tracking this at GLAAD. We're about to release a report that shows that there have been over 100 violent or violent in nature or threats of violence to drag shows or events over the past year. The year's not even over. That's 100. Just this weekend on Saturday night, a bar here in New York City in Hell's Kitchen had a brick thrown through the window. It's the 4th time in a week. So yeah, we're really heightened. We don't feel safe as a community, and we don't have any reason to feel safe as a community. We're under attack, and the rhetoric is driving it. Whether or not, whatever the motive comes out on this, we know that we've seen an uptick in violence against our community. We feel it, and we don't feel safe when we're out and about.
Sarah Kate, can you explain the logic and the fear that seems to propel most of the feeling about transgender people? I mean, it begins, maybe some parts of it begins with various politicians who run for office and claim that, transgender people in schools, grammar schools, ought not to be allowed to be in class, ought not to be allowed to participate in athletics. Could you explain it?
Absolutely. So here's some numbers for you. 9 out of 10 Americans know someone who's gay or lesbian or bi. 3 out of 10 Americans know someone who's transgender. It's a matter of knowing trans people and understanding who they are. When you don't know, you fear. And politicians are using that lack of knowledge, that lack of knowing, to create fear and build their careers. Look, in terms of trans kids and gender affirming care, the American Medical Association, the Pediatric Association, has confirmed that these are safe procedures. This is finished business. It's politicians and junk science who's creating some kind of debate or argument about this. This has been going on. Why is it now so significant and so important? Because people have found ways to build their careers out of fear, and it's been working for them. So I think telling our stories, meeting folks who are trans, that takes all of it away. We know this from marriage equality, right? Like when people met me and now my wife, they were like, oh, this is what a gay couple is? I thought it was monsters in a closet. And it's not. So I think that when we meet people, when we tell our stories, when we use media to tell our stories, that helps to bridge the gap.
We certainly appreciate you being here to tell yours and to be the face and the voice of people who really need it right now. The president and CEO of GLAAD, Sarah Kate Ellis, thanks for being here. Thanks so much.
Thanks for having me.